What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Bit of Footy YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be running through our semi-final tips. We've got Blaze17 back for this week's tips. How we doing, Blaze?
Yeah, good. It was a very good opening round of finals footy, and I'm excited for the two big semi-final games we're going to go through and predict.
Yes, it should be very, very good. Now, it was a good opening week of finals footy, but on our tipping end, it wasn't the greatest week of tipping probably ever. Having a look at both of our records, both me and Blaze recorded one tip out of all four games across the weekend. I've got my tips here. I don't know if you've got your tips there, but I've got my tips here. But I'll run through mine. I tipped Richmond by 22 points over Brisbane, and Brisbane actually got the job done. So I got that one incorrect. I tipped the Swans to beat the D's by 15. They ended up winning by, I think it was like 20 or 22 or something. So I technically got that tip correct. I tipped the Pies by 8 points. Could have went either way in the end, but the Cats just had the experience and they got the job done by 6 points. So I got that tip incorrect, and I tipped the Dogs over the Dockers by 11 points, and it was looking pretty good at halftime or quarter time, whatever. And then second half came around, and the Dockers had that miraculous comeback. Feel bad for Blakey's Bulldogs, but yeah, I got that tip incorrect as well. Blaze, how did you go on your end?
I don't have the exact margins, but I've still got my tips. So I went the Tigers, and obviously the Lions came away with a miracle win. I then tipped your boys to beat Geelong. I got that one incorrect. I got that one correct. That was the only one I got correct. I tipped the Cats in a close one, and I got that. And then I tipped the D's to beat Sydney. Obviously, that was a big statement win for the Swans. And I tipped my boys to get the job done. I think you already said enough for us. So a very poor tipping round from both of us.
Tipped the Dogs by a singular point, did Blaze, by the way. So not the greatest of tippings, but we've only got 2 games to tip this weekend. So surely one of us can get a 2 out of 2 this weekend. But you never know, because combined last weekend we got 2 out of 4, so it's not the greatest, but yeah, we'll just see how we go this weekend. The semi-finals, 2 big games coming up, and we're going to kick it off on the Friday night with the Lions the D's taking on the Lions at the MCG. Blaze, how do you think this one is going to pan out?
Now, I think this is going to be a very interesting game, but I've got a quick side note. How good is it the footy is back at the MCG? We've got packed crowds, night in, night out, so I'm very happy with that. But on the game front, I think the Lions potentially could carry the momentum into this game. Obviously coming off of a big upset win, the adrenaline that comes with that, obviously the support as well. On the D side of it, they're coming off of a very, you could almost say, embarrassing loss. They were good for a lot of it, but they just got outclassed. And also the D's are going to be very battered and bruised. But I think the D's are just too good of a side to lose to the Lions. I think they should get it done, but definitely could see the Lions doing something.
Yeah, it's one of those very interesting games where you think that the D's are probably a certainty to win, especially because it's at the MCG. The Lions don't have the greatest record at the MCG, but you just never know what can happen. I mean, it's a hard one to call, but yeah, realistically, I think the D's should have the ascendancy in this game. I think they'll just be a little bit too good, and I can't see the D's being knocked out in straight sets because of how they went last year and because they're just that good of a team, but you just never know in finals football. Anything could happen. I mean, we didn't really think the Lions were going to come out and beat the Tigers, because going into the finals, the Tigers had the much better form than the Lions did, and then the Lions produced a 2-point win in the dying seconds thanks to Joe Danaher over the Tigers. But I reckon this is going to be a very interesting game. I mean, hopefully there's a big crowd in this game, because, you know, I reckon it'll be a cracking contest. Well, hopefully it is. The last time these two met at the Gabba, the D's absolutely blew the Lions away, but I think it's going to be a sort of different game this one, I reckon, will be much closer than the last result that we had between these two teams. I think the Lions are going to bring the fight, and if they can get all their forward line firing, if Cameron can have a very good game and be that exciting forward line player that we know him to be, if Hipwood can get up and about, Hipwood's like that one player. If he can get up and about, things can definitely go the Lions' way, and they've just got such a talented forward line that if it all clicks at once, you never know, the Lions can get up and about. They've just got so much talent. McStay, McCarthy as well. They're just two very underrated players that just go about it very nicely in there. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game. Blaze, who do you think's going to win this one?
Now, it's a tough one. I really want to go to the upset, but I think with how much of a stinker I had last round, I think I have to go the safe option. But I think the Lions will surprise a few people. I think the D's will get the job done, battered and bruised, and come out with a few more injuries. But I reckon the D's will get up by 5 to head over to versus Geelong in the prelim.
Jeez, it's going to be massive. I mean, you're right, the D's, they're battered, they're bruised, they're coming off a very tough week 1 loss to the Swans. It could really go either way in this one. It really just depends who's on the night. And I said that last week for a game as well, but it really does, because if the Lions are, really on the night and they just get everything going and they just get everything working out and they're just not afraid of the MCG like they just have been the past few years or the past few games, it could really be the Lions game to win. But I'm going to go the safe option like you. I reckon the D's will just be a little bit too good. They're going to have players just hobbling out there, especially Petrarca. But yeah, I reckon the D's will be able to get the job done, but they have to be very careful, the D's. They can't be too complacent. They really have to fight this one out, because the Lions are going to bring their absolute all. They'll have faith after beating the Tigers last weekend in the dying seconds. So the Lions will definitely have faith that they can get the job done in this one. They have a lot of confidence as well. So the D's cannot be too careful in this game. I'm still going to tip them to get the job done. I reckon the D's are going to win this one in a very close game by a 7-point margin on Friday night footy. Moving on to the second game, the second semi-final, Saturday night, 7:25, again at the MCG. So Melbourne, whatever you want to call Melbourne people, getting their good share of finals footy this year, which is great to see. Especially last weekend, I went to the Pies Cats game, and you were talking about how good it is to have finals footy back in Melbourne. 91,000 at the MCG, perfect conditions, 4:35 on a Saturday afternoon. Everyone was complaining about the time slot, but then everyone turned up to the game, and it was just an absolute spectacle to have 91,000 at the MCG for a final. It was just great to see. Even though my team lost, I was just happy to be there back at finals footy. But yeah, supposedly this game is sold out as well, so it could be another big crowd. It could be another 90,000 plus crowd game, which is absolutely ridiculous. I was just gonna say 70,000, 80,000, call it a day, but no, the masses have turned out, so it's going to be a massive crowd on Saturday night. Can't wait to be there live. Blaze, I'll let you go first because I go for the Pies, but yeah, we got
the bias out of it.
Yeah, we got the Pies versus the Dockers on Saturday night. Blaze, how do you think this one's going to go?
So it's really interesting. Obviously, I'm trying to not also be biased because I do want Freo to get smashed a little bit, but no, I'm kidding. Obviously, Freo have a very good record in Melbourne this year. They've had 5 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. So you could bring that into account, but obviously Collingwood at the MCG, the Magpie Army always comes out, and I think the crowd will play a massive factor, because obviously last game against my boys, they had a lot of early nerves, and that was with a home crowd, so not much booing against them. If Collingwood can get under Freo's skin early and the crowd can get right behind them, I could see it get too far again, but obviously I think Collingwood will be able to hold off the lead much better than what the Bulldogs can. But I feel like Collingwood, once again, it's kind of like the last game. Anything can happen. I can see Freo coming out and really getting that fairy tale on the tracks. But I think Collingwood are just way too much of a good team, but the better team all year to lose to the Dockers.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And, you know, at the start of the Dockers game, I was like, no offense, Blaze, but I was like nervous because I was like, if the Dogs win, they're a good chance to give us a run for our money, because, you know, earlier in the season the Dogs absolutely smashed us, and I was thinking, geez, the Dogs are looking good here. If they're coming in to a semi-final on the back of a massive win against the Dockers, you never know what could happen. But then the second half happened. I'm just like, I don't want to play the Dockers. The Dockers are fantastic. I mean, but yeah, well, it was a game of two halves, and coming from both halves, I just didn't want to play either team, to be honest with you. But we have to play one of them. It ended up being the Dockers in the end. And I'll tell you what, when the Dockers are on, they are a scary side. And there's one player who I just want to bring out there, and I think you'll agree with me on this one. It's Caleb Sarong. Jesus Christ. When Caleb Sarong turned it on, far out, he is an absolute beast in the middle. Centre clearances wise, I don't know how many centre clearances that man got, but Jesus Christ, he helped turn the game around. So did Brayshaw as well, obviously. But yeah, there's just so many good plays in that midfield. And my dad said it. He said the Dockers, they've got a lot of star power. When they need to turn a game around, they can. They've just got so much star power. Sarong, Brayshaw, obviously Mundy. You got Frederick in the forward line. You got Walters in the forward line as well. So they've got so much star power there that when they are on, they are a very tough side to beat. But like you said, it's at the MCG. It's going to be in front of 80,000, it looks like to be. The Magpie Army will be there in full voice. And I reckon we got to bring it. We got to bring our absolute tune to the MCG. If we're just quiet and complacent, the Dockers could have, you know, a little bit of fun, and they won't be too nervous, because sure, they can be 80,000 there at the MCG, but if 80,000 people are just sitting there quiet, it's not going to do anything. It just won't bring any momentum into the game for Collingwood. So we've got to be 80,000 people loud. We just can't be 80,000 people quiet. But even I reckon... Yeah.
Oh, sorry, but I think that kind of depends on the players, though, because obviously they can't be loud if Freo are on top. So I think it really depends on the players to come out early and really, I don't know, just like a big Brandon Maynard tackle or something like that gets them up and about. Because if the players aren't starting well, the crowd's not going to be loud.
True. But yeah, it's going to be a terrific game of footy. I'm nervous. I'm excited. I obviously have faith in the boys to get the job done, especially after the first final that we had against Geelong. What a ripping final that was. Being there live, it was just absolutely electric. We put up an amazing fight, almost got the Chockies in the end, but the Cats, like I said earlier in the video, just had that little bit more experience and were able to get the job done by a goal. But yeah, it was a terrific fight from our boys, and I was really proud of how we ended up playing that game out. And yeah, if we can bring that same sort of pressure into this game, I hope we can. You never know what can happen. I just hope that, yeah, like I said, we can bring that same sort of pressure that we did against the Cats. It's hard to come back from heartbreaking losses, but I just hope that, you know, we have a good feeling about ourselves, that, you know, we took it up to one of the best teams in the comps, and we have a little bit of confidence from that game last weekend, and we just bring it to the Dockers, who, you know, are going to bring an absolute challenge. Obviously, they've got the whole story of David Mundy just wanting to continue his career to a grand final and potentially win one as well. But yeah, it's going to be a massive game on Saturday night. Blaze, who do you think is going to win this one?
Ooh, I'm very excited for this one. I think it's going to be a shootout. I could definitely see it. Both teams have a lot of fire in them. Obviously, Collingwood coming off a very close loss, and Freo really not wanting to get themselves in a tricky situation once again. I just can't see any team in the top four going out in straight sets this year. So gonna back your mob in by a decent margin, but still Freo putting up a good fight in Monday's final game. I reckon the Pies get it done by 15 points and go on to versus the Swans at the SCG.
Oh, God. Yeah, it's the fact that whoever wins this has to play a prelim in Sydney. It's a tough one over there. But yeah, I'm obviously going to tip our boys as well. After seeing what we produced last weekend, I've got so much faith. I mean, obviously, after seeing what the Dockers produced, it's a scary prospect as well. But Yeah, I've got so much faith. If we can bring that tackling pressure, if we can bring that sort of frantic game of footy, like we said last weekend, if, Collingwood play that frantic game of footy, they can be a real threat to sides. But yeah, I'm going to tip us to get the job done. I reckon it's going to be a close one. I reckon the Dockers will absolutely push us to the end. They're fighting for David Mundy here. I reckon Collingwood are going to win this one in a close game. I'm going to go by a 5-point margin over the Dockers, with the scores being 87 to 83 on the final hooter. And yeah, it's going to be an absolute ripper of a Saturday night game. So yeah, that's our tips done and dusted for the semi-finals. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Blaze, you got anything to say for this weekend of finals footy?
It's going to be a big week. Cheers for getting me on, and make sure to sub to Bitter. Plenty of good content coming.
All right, yeah, thank you, Blaze, and make sure to check out Blaze's links in the description below as well. He's pumping out some good content. Got the AFL Evos as well, so yeah, make sure to just jump over to his channel and check his content out. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in another video soon. Cheers.